I've just hit record. We've got Smith, Labuschagne, like two of the best averages in Test cricket history, and we still can't win. Feed podcast brought to you by PlayUp. James Frayne, Ben Travers, dissecting everything that's happening in the world of sport. Fresh off a series loss, Test loss to India at the Gabba. Frayne, you've texted me not long ago wanting to talk about the cricket, which we will. Not sure if there's a rant there, but not a good day for Australia at the cricket. Rashid Punt annihilated us late in the day. Pujara got hit with more body blows than bloody Evander Holyfield against Mike Tyson. And the Indians still win. How are you, Frayne?
Mate, I'm good. Still digesting all that there was to digest from a fantastic game of fantastic series of Test match cricket.
It was great, wasn't it? Fantastic.
Nothing better than a good Test series.
Yeah. Oh, that last session of the last Test to decide the series, all four results, be it Australia win, India win, draw, or even a tie, were on the table going into the last session. So it's riveting stuff. How did you see the series play out, mate?
Yeah, I've got a few talking points that I want to run by you. Like the first point that I wrote down was like how good is Test cricket. We've seen the Big Bash on at the same time. I don't reckon I've had texts from mates or seen as much activity on social media in the last few months. Just the level of interest in that Test series, it's amazing. There is nothing better in sport than two evenly teams going at it in a 4 or 5 match Test series where the whole series can ebb and flow on partnerships, a few overs here or there. It's unreal. And then the other point I wanted to raise was prior to the series and even during the series, Channel 7 and I think Foxtel even flashed up a few times. They kept going on with this notion that our current bowling quartet was the best Test bowling quartet in history. And it's a real head scratcher for me because while individually they have some really good records, and I think Cummins will go down as a real great of the game once he's retired, the best Test quartets are the ones who consistently won Test matches, who consistently won Test series, who struck fear in the opposition. You think of the West Indies in the late 80s and the early 90s. Australia when they had Warne, McGrath, Lee, Gillespie, things like that. Or South Africa when they had Stain and Morkel, Philander, Callis, all that sort of stuff. These were quartets that won ridiculous number of series in a row. And Australia's their last 8 series, they've won 3, lost 4, and drawn 1. So I think that chat needs to be hit on the head pretty quickly. I don't know if you think
I concur. Mate, if Shane Warne is playing today, it's over by 2. Seriously, yeah.
I think he wanted the ball in his hand. The great man.
He did. I was watching the commentary, but I agreed with a lot of what he said, and so did Mark Waugh. That they were bowling a really negative line to Pujara in particular, who's going to defend the ball 9 times out of 10 anyways. They didn't have a bat pad on the offside. Pujara just pokes forward and just kicks the ball away most of the time. As soon as Lyon changed his line to outside off, they got Gill out, caught by Smith, good sharp chance at slip, and they created chances. I just thought the whole tactical endeavour of Payne and the bowlers was just not even close today. So when they started bowling some short pitch stuff to Pujara, they rattled him, but it was just like they kept trying the same thing over and over. And look, eventually you'll get them out, but yeah, I mean, you've got one day they had 98 overs and they weren't good enough. I thought tactically they were really poor. Obviously, they're smarter cricketers in terms of IQ than you or I, maybe. I don't know. It's just I thought going into the day, I thought Hazelwood would get a bag. Cameron Green bowled 3 overs. I thought he'd get more with maybe a bit of up and down bounce. I thought Labuschagne would bowl more into the rough to the left-handers in particular. I think he bowled 2 overs to right-handers predominantly. I don't know. I think there's some big decisions to be made. Where's our next test? Is it South Africa?
South Africa, yeah. I've got some things I want to get to on that. But before that, I was going to mention the fact that, and you sort of touched on it there, like, the old saying, a champion team will always beat a team of champions. It's just staggering the gulf between our two best batsmen and the rest of our batsmen, our two best bowlers and the rest of our bowlers. Like, just some things that jumped out at me. Labuschagne and Smith scored 40% of the team runs, averaging 50. And then all the other members in the top 6, so the 4 other batsmen throughout the series, averaged 25, so exactly half, and scored less runs than them. So immediately you've got two people you're banking on, and then you've got 4 passengers, be it whoever they put in for the side. And then on the bowling front, Hazelwood and Cummins taking 2/3 of the wickets at 20, and then the rest of the wickets, the rest of the wickets of the other bowlers, there was only 20 wickets taken at 55. So you're just on a hiding to nothing, trying to win test matches with the reliance. And I thought poor Pat Cummins might have even broken down at one stage today. I think he bowled something like 22, 23 overs. A bit of a head scratcher why Green didn't take some of the pre-new ball overs to make sure Cummins was really fresh for those, or Labuschagne, like you said. So then moving on to what's next, the team leaves for, it's not official yet, but it looks like they'll leave for South Africa in 5 weeks. That's a huge series because South Africa, we all know what happened 3 years ago when the Aussies played over there. Australia's now slipped to 3rd in the Test Championship table. So if they don't win this series or score enough points, I don't have a master's degree in advanced mathematics, so I can't work out the Test Championship table. But if they don't, I think, win or draw this to be able to play in the Test Championship. But the team, everyone's going to be putting their who should be dropped. I don't know. It might be too early to think that sort of stuff. But I think what the selectors have got to do now is they've probably realised that there's some older heads in their team that their expiry date's probably a bit pushed forward from where they thought it was maybe prior to this series, and that's the guys like Tim Payne. Definitely, he's been talked about constantly. David Warner, he's a very polarizing figure. Very surprisingly, Nathan Lyon, like, he didn't have a great series. He's one thing that, and I don't want to judge him too harshly because I haven't researched it, but he doesn't strike me as a real 4th innings bowler. Like, we saw that at Headingley, we saw that in Sydney, here again in Brisbane. There's been a lot of chances on his watch, and I think he's better in the 1st and 2nd innings when he can use the bounce and things like that. So maybe Nathan Lyon, potentially, he's getting older as well. So, and Mitch Starc, maybe he's one that's needs to not play every test in the series. Maybe bring him in short bursts.
Yeah, I think he just looked tired today. He bowled absolute custards. So I think I agree. So if you're picking an 11 to play the first test in South Africa, I think Pukovski, if he's fit, is definitely opening. Warner will definitely be there.
Yeah.
I agree his use-by date's come forward a couple, and he's just a bit of a prick. So he'll so I'm sort of less inclined to sort of support him. But it'll be Warner and Pukovski, obviously Marnus and Smith. And then I think, like, who bats 5? Seriously. Travis Head.
I think you got Ben McDermott. There's some murmurings for Ben McDermott. Like,
I agree.
He is, like, it's Big Bash, but
I agree.
Travis Head's had his turn. Matthew Wade's had his turn. They're not the future anyway. So
if it's not him, it's got to be Enriquez, I think, because I don't know who else, unless you bring back like Brad Hodge or Callum Ferguson. I don't think there's anyone.
Alex Carey as a batsman. I don't know. Throwing out some left.
Well, I think Tim Payne's played his last test. I mean, everyone will be like, "Oh, he's bloody, led us through a great rough trot." Like, I mean, I don't know. His wicket keeping in the last 2 tests has been terrible. Yeah. Like, he dropped.
It was
1 in the 1st innings and then missed a stumping on Rashid Punt today off Nathan Lyon. I don't know. I think he's getting old. He must be 36, 37, Tim Payne. I think it's time to bring in Alex Carey. When's the Ashes? Next summer in Australia?
Next summer.
So you've either got to pick and stick with Payne, or you go, let's bring in Alex Carey. Based on what I heard Justin Langer say, I think they'll pick and stick Payne. I agree with Stark. Who's your replacement there? Probably, Nice's floating around. James Pattinson's always there.
Jai Richardson, he played
Richardson and Riley Meredith for the Hurricanes goes really good too. I've got a big rap on him. So I think there's ready-made replacements for Stark. I think he's fucked. And Nathan Lyon, I don't know. It might depend what his record is in South Africa. Like, I don't know what his record would be in South Africa. I
think he averages something around 40, 42 in South Africa from memory.
Whether they bring in a Swepson or I don't know. But maybe we're overreacting. We're a bit emotional. But
do you play 5 pace bowlers in South Africa and use Labuschagne as a part timer? It's not the most. They don't have the most spinning decks in South Africa. You could
maybe 4 pace bowlers and Cam Green plus. I don't know. Yeah. Again, I don't know what Lyon's done historically in South Africa without. So if we had researched it, maybe we'd know. We don't. Fuck that. Too hard. Anyways, that'll play. I don't know. What do the Aussies do now? They got T20s to play.
Yeah, they go to New Zealand, and I think this is one of those weird things. They go to New Zealand when they're just about to start going to South Africa. There's going to be like those two. There's going to be the white ball team and the red ball team. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
And Aaron Finch officially can't score a run, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a walk-up starter, being the captain, but he can't get it off the wicket at the moment, which is a bit of a concern. All right, so that's Test cricket. How good will it be next summer with the Ashes? Hopefully all COVID is Gornsky's all vaccinated against, and we can get back to filling the grounds for a 5-test series, which will be, mate, how good will it be? The problem I've got is, like you alluded to, I think we were talking before the podcast we hit record, was that Labuschagne and Smith they have 2 of the top 5 averages, maybe 4 averages of all time in Test cricket. So we've got 2 gun batsmen there. We've apparently got a pretty good bowling lineup, but we just can't, I can't believe we couldn't beat that Indian team, particularly on the Gabba deck. Credit to them, they played really well, but without names like Kohli, Ashwin, Bumrah, Saini, not Saini, the other fast bowler who's decks it around it early. Yadav. There's another one I'm forgetting, but I don't know. Bit of a concern. Ishant Sharma never even came. No, the guy who got his arm broken batting.
Shami,
good in the wet. So I don't know. Test cricket, it was brilliant today, and hats off to the Indians. No doubt they'll be shit-faced right now. Frayne Train, quick note on the Magic Millions last weekend. Probably one of the biggest, I wouldn't call it controversies, but the biggest fuck-ups of all time. When Ryan Maloney, the jockey on Isotope, the favourite for the 2-year-old guineas, the dual feature race of the day, 3-year-old guineas, sorry, not 2-year-old, 3-year-old guineas, bolting on the inside and falls off. I think the horse knuckled. So it's like a maybe $1.5 million race to the winner, something like that, and looked like it was travelling quite well into the race. If you were the owner of Isotope, for those who aren't horse racing fans, Ryan Maloney, the jockey, fell off at about the 500 metre mark. How are you feeling for the Isotope family, Frayne?
Oh, mate, I literally had no words. I could not believe it watching my eyes. It's just one of those things. Sport is the great script writer, and what odds would you have got for the red hot favourite falling off at the 300 when it looks like it was just about to unleash on the leaders and mow them down?
So 240 into 210, I think, really late in betting. So that's a pretty substantial move in a big race. So the betting public of Australia, they wanted to back it, and
Do you reckon he took a dive and he got a big sack of cash from a bookie?
No, I thought that initially because I was on a away game, which was in the run in front of it. And I thought Isotope had clipped its heels, but it didn't, I don't think. And I thought maybe he's just jumped off that and he's just – but I mean, if he wins that race, he probably gets something like 75 grand or something. So it would have been a pretty big sling. Mate, that would just kill me. That would kill me. Also on the Gold Coast, Payne Haas, Broncos and New South Wales Blues prop, got arrested for intimidating a cop. Another rugby league player doing drunken things, Frayne, not overly surprising.
Almost forgot it was the NRL off-season.
Yeah, that's the silly season. I heard the thing that really surprised me was that in one news report, they're like, he was touted as a potential captain of the Broncos, which to me just seems ridiculous. I couldn't believe he'd be anywhere near the captaincy. But
probably says a lot about the Broncos and where they're at with their roster.
Probably fair enough. He's nowhere near captaincy, hopefully. I actually think Andrew McCulloch will captain the Broncos if he's not traded or departs early. Yes, Alex Glenn's there, but I think Andrew McCulloch's a more, not dominant, but I think he'd be a better leader. And also on league today, of course, the NRL and the Players Association, they agreed to a 6% pay cut in the salary cap for next year. So the salary cap sits at about 9.1 million or something like that. So they're down 6%. Good result for, it was looking at people striking and, well, that's where it gets to, I suppose, but we weren't that far. But 6%, I'm sure they can afford that. It's probably the fringe players that are most affected by that. But 6% pay cut, and I think it's a 7% pay cut for next year as well. The other one as well is that Origin players, they normally get 30 grand a year. They've been slashed to 15 grand.
Another feather in the cap of the administration of Peter V'landys. Like you saw how ugly the cricket collective bargaining agreement got and whatnot. And this all sort of happened very quickly behind closed doors. I think the administration probably was in a greater bargaining position than a lot of other sports negotiating these pre-COVID. But I don't know, it's just good that it wasn't a standoff and that it could all sort of go on. I don't think any of the fans really appreciate all that sort of stuff when the players dig their heels in or the administration gets ugly and it all plays out in the media. So
I am keen. I'm so keen for this season. I'm really obviously a bit interrupted last year and lost a few games, and you couldn't go and barrack for the most part for your favourite team. So, and I wonder what's happening also with Cam Smith. He's just gone walkabout or quiet. Presumably, he's not playing for Melbourne.
I don't know. I think I'm surprised because I thought there's been a lot of sort of column inches written about this, but the regular cadence of sort of 2 or 3 articles a day has slowed down a little bit. So it'll be really interesting. It'll be really interesting to see where he goes. Like time's running out. Surely the squads are getting finalised now, and people would want to know where like such a big, important marquee player is heading. So
I heard the Titans have another spot left on their roster. So if anywhere, he probably ends up there. But then there's talk that he'll be their Origin coach or him and Billy or who knows. Yeah. But surely there will be an announcement the next week or two. Has to be. Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting into trials. He hasn't done any one bit of training. Last thing for the night, Frayne, the Queensland Reds announced their squad for 2021. You tipped the Brumbies to win the Australasian Super Rugby competition, which Harry Wilson was really happy about on our Punters Club feed last week, but podcast, I should say, last week. But did you get a look at that squad? Because it is a great mix of youth and experience, I think.
Yeah, it is. I saw that there was a lot of, I think the article that was referenced in the Courier Mail mentioned that there was a considerable number of people who are homegrown talent. So it's good that there's pathways coming through and it's not a whole heap of ex-rugby league players looking to beef up their superannuation or something like that. So
that is true. I mean, Vunivalu's there, but I think he's very young. So I don't think he's quite worried about the retirement package at the moment. But no, if you've read something in the Courier Mail, then you've done yourself an injustice. You should have read Inside Feed website for an article. But yes,
I didn't say Courier Mail, you did, but I said I read something. You
definitely said Courier Mail. That's okay.
Did I?
They'll give us some money. A lot of Queensland Premier Rugby talent and young talent. There's a halfback, Kalani Thomas, who must be 14. He's probably 19. He looks 14. There's a couple of the Crichton brothers who've been down at Brothers. Josh Fluke, who's played a couple of games already for the Reds and down at Brothers. He's 19, I think. And Matt Greeley, who's from Toowoomba. So there's a back line there that will be there for maybe the next 10 years if the Reds stay afloat and they can keep everyone together and on the park. But so you mix in that with the group the established group of your Danny Alatupus and your Lucan Salakai Lotto and the new Wallaby brigade of Liam Wright, Fraser McWright, Harry Wilson, Tate McDermott. What I'm trying to say to you, Frayne, is you're back to the Brumbies. And the Reds at $3.20 is a great bet to win.
Maybe you've swayed me. Maybe I'm going to have to.
You don't have to. I'd rather put shit on you when they win. I think they culminate that in like April. I don't think the comp's very long, and then they have the New Zealand conference come over and do some games as well. So
what's working against me is every year for like the last 5 years they've been like $80 or $70 to win the comp, and I'm got real juiced on that. And then now that squad's progressed and they're shorter and shorter, I'm like, I can't really get excited about 320.
Well, they'll beat the Force, right? They'll beat the Force
and the Waratahs and the Rebels. It'll come down to Brumbies and the Reds again.
So if you were a professional gambler, which you should do responsibly, 210 the Brumbies, 320 the Reds. You could back them both and make a profit.
Yeah, you got a free shot, man.
Just saying. Looking forward to that. I think Super Rugby, which I wrote in an article on insidefeed.com.au, not Courier Mail. I wrote in the article that the Super Rugby is back the 19th of Feb. I think it's a Friday night. Suncorp Stadium, Reds Waratahs. Reds will win by about 35. And we'll go to the Caxton and get drunk. I think the thing for the Reds is they're really poorly attended most of the time, and it's really shit when you're in the stands watching it with no one. So I really hope people get around the Reds this year, buy a shitty little membership, for a couple of games and get a scarf and some bullshit flyer or whatever. But I just hope they get supported because they have a fucking great team. The thing I like about it as well is, a lot of grassroots talent. And a lot of these blokes are keen to play for the Reds. Like they've grown up wanting to play for the Reds. So I'm all over the Reds this year. Bet of the year that they'll beat the Brumbies in any final that they play. Just so you know.
Strong words.
All right. What's on the radar for the next couple of weeks? We've got BBL, which is still happening. We're filming this right now. The Heat are playing the Scorchers. The Scorchers got 174, I think. The Heat are batting probably right now. Lynn's probably already made 50. So we'll have BBL finals and the Australian Open, which is run by Novak, will be on. And apart from that, with BBL, a bit of international cricket. As you said, the Australians go to across the Tasman. And then we really look forward to rugby league trials, bit of Super Rugby, AFL, and it all just kicks in. Racing carnivals in Melbourne and then Sydney, respectively. Never a dull moment, Frayne Train. Anything on the radar apart from that this weekend or next week at all that you can think of?
What's the we got the Australia Day sort of long weekend falling on a Tuesday is a bit flat. So I think there's a ridiculous number of BBL games. There'll be some Australia Day racing and whatnot. But
we might try and podcast. We might try and podcast Monday next week, Monday night. Publish it Tuesday. Mainly so you and I can both get drunk on the Tuesday, but also maybe provide a few winners on the BBL and whatever. Let's do that for the adoring fans. We are getting in bed with the guys at PlayUp. Great bookmaker. If you're not on PlayUp, come and see me. They are doing some wonderful things, and there's a lot happening there, which we'll talk to you about in the next couple of weeks. But for now, Frayne Train, I'm going to go watch the Heat play. For the sake of my long range bet, I hope the Scorchers beat them, but my heart says Heat.
This is the grand final preview.
This is the grand final preview, even though the grand final is probably in September when the BBL finishes. Until next week, Frayne Train, thank you.
Cheers, Trav.
Thanks, mate.